Imagine you're immersing yourself in a vast ocean. You're swimming or doing something when suddenly a shark fin, the size of a whole boat, breaks the surface and heads straight for you. That might be the last time you ever step into the sea. The only shark that could have such a gigantic dorsal fin could only be the Megalodon. Luckily for you and all of us, this terrifying shark went extinct around 3.6 million years ago. But what caused this apex predator to disappear? And is it possible that it still exists, lurking in the depths of the ocean? Megalodon, or Kakarikles megalodon, first inhabited our planet's oceans around 23 million years ago. They were the largest shark species ever known to man. Megalodon came in various sizes, but studies suggest that an average individual of this species would be 13 to 18 meters long. This range is quite wide because scientists have to extrapolate their size based on tooth and jaw fragments found in the fossil record. To date, a complete skeleton of a megalodon shark has not yet been found. However, from the remains we have found, it's clear these creatures were enormous. Adult megalodons had no natural enemies as their size and power were simply overwhelming. This ancient shark roamed every ocean in the world except for the Antarctic. What we can know about this giant shark comes from fossil remains and scientific observations of their much smaller relatives that are still alive today. The largest predatory shark alive today is the great white shark. The largest great white shark ever recorded was about 11 meters long. This means that today's fearsome ocean predator is still about 6 meters shorter than a giant megalodon. Megalodon was truly successful at what it did. They outcompeted other predators for about 20 million years, and for that entire time, they were at the top of the food chain. Their enormous size, razor-sharp teeth, and speed allowed this giant fish to hunt and kill prey with extreme efficiency. So, what caused the Megalodon to go extinct? Why does this incredibly successful killing machine no longer dominate the oceans today? Something terrible must have happened. The evidence points to several distinct changes in the weather that impacted the Megalodon's survival rate. From 3 to 5 million years ago, the climate on our planet began to change. The world started to cool as it entered an era known as the Pliocene. During this time, global temperatures dropped and the oceans were also affected. A major change occurred as the colder temperatures caused sea levels to begin to fall. This happened during the Ice Age, when water became trapped in ice sheets and glaciers. As water turned to a solid state, it was removed from the ocean. This caused the overall sea level to drop. A global drop in sea level wouldn't have been a problem for the Megalodon if that were the only change that occurred. But as sea levels fell, land that was previously underwater began to emerge. During the Pliocene, the Isthmus of Panama began to form. The collision of tectonic plates in the region caused volcanic activity, leading to the formation of the mountains that now stretch from North to South America. The appearance of this new land bridge connecting the Americas had a huge impact on ocean animals. The land that would become Central America had been underwater for millions of years, meaning that at the time there was nothing to stop marine life from crossing between the seas that are now the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. After the passage between the Americas was blocked by the land bridge, many species became trapped on one side or the other of the continent. This may have prevented Megalodon from accessing some of its prey. Ocean currents and the movement of nutrients in the ocean began to change as the equatorial path between the oceans was obstructed. This could have forced species to migrate to new areas, and if they couldn't adapt to this new environment, extinction was inevitable. The ocean currents and nutrients that once flowed between the Americas were abruptly stopped. Without the supply of these rich nutrients, biodiversity would decline. This change would have a domino effect on all species living throughout the oceans. The nutrients would no longer be the same, and entire ecosystems would disappear. This alone could have caused a mass extinction of aquatic organisms, creating opportunities for new species to evolve. Even if the lower sea levels and the blockage between oceans didn't directly cause the Megalodon's extinction, it very likely affected its prey. Because the Megalodon was so large and reproduced slowly, it filled a specific ecological niche, that of an apex predator. If the environment suddenly changed, it's likely the Megalodon lacked the genetic diversity to adapt to a habitat with less prey. Another impact of the falling sea levels was that the ocean became saltier. As more and more water was trapped in ice and glaciers, the ratio of salt to water in the ocean changed. Salt is not trapped in the water, so the salt concentration remained constant while the water level dropped. This increased the salinity throughout the oceans. The difference in salinity would alter ocean currents and nutrient cycles more than ever. In fact, this change in salinity is one of the main reasons we have the ocean currents we do today. All these changes to the oceans meant that the environment in which the Megalodon had thrived for millions of years was different. Large, specialized predators have a hard time adapting to changes in their environment. Think about what is currently happening to polar bears. They are highly adapted to the environment in which they evolved. But if the ice continues to melt and global temperatures continue to rise, they will go extinct. The polar bear species won't have enough genetic diversity to succeed in a warmer environment. As the environment changed during the Pliocene, marine biodiversity decreased significantly for a time before natural selection caused new species to evolve and thrive. Unfortunately, this could take thousands of years. That was too long for the Megalodon to survive. Along with the decline in biodiversity, the hunted animals and predators in the ocean would now need to compete for the same food sources. The prey that Megalodon hunted would rapidly decrease, meaning they had to compete for a different food source or starve. Before the environmental changes of the Pliocene, the oceans were filled with large marine animals. Many of these animals ate krill and small fish, like the baleen whales of today. That meant there was likely plenty of prey for Megalodon to hunt. However, after the climate shift, creatures like the toothless walrus, aquatic sloths and pygmy baleen whales could not survive in the new environment. Gradually, Megalodon's diverse food source dwindled. This is when the real problem for the Megalodon appeared. The climate change very likely contributed to the extinction of this giant creature, but scientists now believe there was another culprit that was the main factor driving the final nail into the Megalodon's coffin. At the time a giant shark went extinct, another apex predator began to emerge, the great white shark. Carcharodon carcharius, or the great white shark, appeared around the same time the Megalodon began to decline. It seems this new shark could compete with the creature that had dominated the oceans for 20 million years. The smaller size of the great white shark allowed it to catch and eat smaller prey, which had become more abundant after the climate change. With the ability to eat many different species rather than just a few specific prey, this gave the great white shark an advantage. Not only did they have more types of food, but their choices were also more plentiful. At this point, its smaller body size actually became a huge benefit. Because the Megalodon had such a large body, it needed to stay in relatively warm waters to maintain its body temperature. As for great white sharks, they rely on factors like sunlight and body movement to increase their temperature. Along with their smaller bodies, they could also venture into cooler waters. There is also another possibility that great white sharks hunted some of the same prey as the Megalodon. They may have targeted the young of the species that Megalodon was hunting, thereby reducing the number of adult prey available for the Megalodon. The great white sharks were not at all trying to overcome and cause the extinction of the Megalodon. but they were, and still are, effective predators that thrive in the new ocean environment. The success of the great white shark very likely contributed to the extinction of the once great Megalodon. Scientists also suggest that the evolution of other, smaller sharks could have put pressure on the Megalodon. For example, the tiger shark lived at the same time as the Megalodon, and they lived in very similar environments. That may have contributed to the extinction of this giant shark. It has been suggested that the great white shark and the tiger shark hunted young, not fully grown megalodons, causing the already small population of Megalodon to become even smaller. As scientists gather more evidence, they can see that the Megalodon was not only outmatched by smaller sharks, but could also be hunted by its own larger kin. One theory about the real cause of the Megalodon's extinction is, literally, written in the stars. Some astronomers suggest that a supernova may have contributed to the extinction of the largest shark that ever lived. This theory proposes that a star near Earth went supernova, then bathed the Earth in a type of harmful radiation. This radiation could harm many species, but slow reproducing species like the Megalodon would be much more severely affected due to numerous mutations and a lack of genetic diversity within the species. All of these factors may have played a role in the Megalodon's extinction. But can we be certain that this shark is extinct? Could a giant shark nearly 20 meters long still be lurking in the darkness of the ocean? Humans have been exploring the ocean and documenting their observations for hundreds of years. During all that time, there have been no credible records or documents of a Megalodon being seen. If Megalodons were still alive, we would at least expect to find a whale or some other prey with a 3-meter-long bite mark from a Megalodon's jaws, but such evidence has never been observed. We can only hope to find some intact Megalodon fossils that are less than 3.5 million years old, but so far we have not been successful in finding any. And what are your impressions of this giant ancient shark? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below.